Good morning, everybody. Beruchim Habaim. Today, Thursday, the 28th day of Adar the 2nd, corresponding to April the 4th, 2019. The Lighthouse live video feed Torah project dedicated graciously Le'ilui Nishmat Devorah Feige Bat Shemuel and Refuah Shelema of Ora Devorah Bat Rivka. The iTorah.com audio file recording sponsored Refuah Shelema David Menachem Ben Devorah Leah and Shidduch for Nehama Dina Bat Hanabatia among all the single boys and girls from Am Israel. Amen. Amen. I'll start from the middle of what I was talking before this recording, but I give you a summary of what I said. We know that Sefer Vayikra, especially this parashiyot that we are reading, contain a lot of the laws of the sacrifices. The korbanot. The sacrifices were offered during the time of the Bet HaMikdash. There were sacrifices for almost every imaginable situation in the life of a person. Thanksgiving offering, sin offering, intentional offering, unintentional offering, unknown offering, Thanksgiving offering, weekday offering, Shabbat offering, Rosh Chodesh offering, Yom Tov offering, Chol HaMoed offering, visiting the Bet HaMikdash offering in the 3 holidays. Bottom line, there were different types, thank you so much, different types of korbanot, different sizes of the korbanot, different types of offering of the korbanot. But bottom line, the Gemara says that there is no greater offering like the person offers themselves to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. What does it mean? Obviously, we're not referring to a human sacrifice, but we actually referring to that a person is willing to go the extra mile for a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which I believe each and every one of us, individually and collectively, goes through this. I ask you a question. Does every one of us really want to wake up in the morning so early to come to pray? Or sometimes you like to stay in bed for another 5 more minutes? That's what the Yetzer Hara tells you. 5 more minutes. That's why I know the Yetzer Hara very well. And I put 3 alarm clocks to wake up in the morning. Because I know that if I have only one, it will be challenging for me to wake up. But now, you have this question in your mind. Should I wake up or I should stay in bed? And the person wakes up, guess what? That is a korban to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That is a sacrifice to Borei Olam. You are in the supermarket and you are tempted to buy something that doesn't have hechsher, and it could be halachically problematic. And you say, you know what? I'm not going to buy it. May not be kosher. Guess what? That's another korban for a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Where do we learn it from? From the beginning of the Sefer Torah, Perashat Vayikra. The pasuk says, Adam ki akriv mikem korban laHashem. A person that offers for themselves and sacrifice to the Almighty. And although the reason why the Torah says mikem means that the sacrifice needs to be owned and not stolen, God forbid, but the ultimate mission of that particular pasuk is to tell us, guess what? You can give an offering to a Kadosh Baruch Hu from Miami. You don't have to be in the Bet HaMikdash. You don't have to travel to Jerusalem. Obviously, we all hope for Mashiach to come and to be able to actively practice this beautiful mitzvot that we discuss. But in the meantime, until Mashiach comes, we can do the best offering to a Kadosh Baruch Hu by willing to go the extra mile for a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו. And like this example of waking up in the morning or eating kasher, you can apply it in any area of your life. Let's say you go to buy, let's talk to the ladies for a minute. You're going to buy, in honor of the holiday, garments, a dress, an outfit. And hopefully your husband will be generous to you and will give you a gift in honor of the holiday. That's what's written in the holy books, and I'm sure everybody does it. Now you go to the mall or you go to a store and you love a dress that you see hanging on the display, on the rack. But this dress has a lot of halachic issues, seniot issues. And you decide, you know what, not suitable for Yom Tov, not suitable for Shabbat, unless you extend the skirt size, unless you put a shell underneath. There are ways, I'm sure the wonderful ladies know, that there are ways that certain garments can be suited properly to be kosher. That's why the shell industry in the Jewish world is a very busy type of business. You buy a sleeveless dress and then you put a shelf underneath. That makes it kosher, etc. I'm only bringing examples. I'm a man, but I'm a father also, and I'm a husband. And I have daughters, Baruch Hashem, and a son, obviously, but more daughters than sons. So therefore, I know how the system works. And I have a mother, and I have sisters. I'm a human being, so I'm in contact, with my relatives, and I know how they talk and what they think. And I'm sure that every one of our spouses think the same way. And guess what? And the ladies say, you know what? I love the dress, but it's not proper. That is considered a korban to a kadosh baruch Hu. This is considered that you flew to Israel, you went to the Beit HaMikdash, bought an animal, and say to the Kohen, here, my korban to Hashem. Very powerful message that the Gemara is giving us today. I'd like to share with the Kahal an interesting pasuk that we talked about in the previous class, the unfortunate incident of Shaul HaMelech and the king of Amalek. If you remember, this was the Aventura that we read on the beautiful Shabbat Zachor before Purim. And we learn how Shaul HaMelech lost the kingdom. For what purpose? Because he failed to remove Agag, the king of Amalek, plus he also kept the animals from Amalek alive with the intention of offering sacrifices to Hashem. And we all know that Hashem, God goes to Shaul, to Shemuel, and says, you know what? I had it with him. I want a new king for Israel. And eventually, the next appointed king, I'm sure everybody knows, is the one and only David HaMelech. But comes Shemuel and says to Shaul, and although this pasuk is for Shaul, I'm telling you that this pasuk is for every Jew, because this is the secret of today's Gemara. Bayomer Shemuel, after Shaul tries to justify why did he keep the animals, comes Shemuel and it says, Ahefes la'Hashem be'olot uzbahim kishmoa be'kol Hashem. Do you think that if there is a choice between offering olah means an offering that no human benefits from it. That's why it's called olah. Olah means oleh la Hashem, goes up to the Almighty. So it says, do you think that God rather have physical sacrifices of animals, kishmoa bekol Hashem, rather than listening to His voice? Hine shemoa mizebach tov, lehakshiv Mehelev Elim. It says Shemuel Navi. It's better to listen and to pay attention to the words of Hashem better than any sacrifice plus the helev of Elim. Elim means a certain animal that is a very big animal, and yet the helev, which is the non-kosher fat that we don't eat, the pasuk says, Kol helev la Hashem. There were certain parts of the animals that went to the Kohanim. The skin of the animals went to the Kohanim. The blood was spilled through the Mizbeach, and the helev was burned. So imagine yourself, now you come to do an offering to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you donate 25 pounds of helev. That's a nice donation. But before that, or after that, what did you do? You scream to your wife. So which one God rather have? Not screaming or the 25 pounds fat offering? Not screaming. And that's exactly what the pasuk says. Do you think that Hashem wants the sacrifices? There are spiritual reasons why in the time of the Beit HaMikdash sacrifices were offered. But today, it's much easier to do a sacrifice today than it was in the time of the Beit HaMikdash. And I believe that I illustrated the examples. What does it mean? Korban. When a person puts aside their will in order to fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If it has to do with waking up in the morning, or going to a certain place, or going to a certain restaurant, or eating or buying something that may not be in accordance to the will of Hashem. And the question is, how much of a sacrifice does a person needs to do for the sacrifice to be considered a good sacrifice? So the Gemara brings a very interesting statement. You may have heard this, and the Gemara says, "Ehad marbe be'ehad mam'it, ubilvad sheichabben et libo lashamayim." The Pirush says, it doesn't matter the level or the size of the sacrifice that you are making. It doesn't matter. Ehad marbe be'ehad mam'it. You made a mega sacrifice. Let's say that you arrive from the trip at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you said to yourself, if I'm going to go to sleep now for 2 hours, I'm not going to wake up till 10 o'clock in the morning. So what do you decided to do? To come to the synagogue, to wait till the synagogue opens up in order to pray with the minyan, and then you go home to sleep. That is considered a mega sacrifice. Mega. Why? Because you literally offer your body. You could have go home to sleep and you can justify it. Or the alarm clock rings, like it happens to me often. You know, they ask a great rabbi, how do you explain to today's generation, the pasuk says, Hakol kol Yaakov ve'yadayim yedei Esav. The voice is the voice of Yaakov, and the hands of Esav. You know what the great rabbi of Bovev said, alav shalom? Was a great tzaddik. He says, when the alarm clock rings in the morning to wake you up to come to the synagogue, that's called Kol Yaakov. And the hand that presses the snooze button is the hands of Esav, Haz v'shalom. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. The alarm rings. Not to worry. I know you're asking the question. He's asking, what about your wife? She's not bothered that the alarm clock rings so early in the morning? Baruch Hashem, she can sleep. Good. And I asked her, by the way, in the early years of marriage, I asked her, does it bother you if I put on the alarm clock? She said, no, go ahead and do it. And Baruch Hashem, you know, thank God. Thank God. Or you had a good night's sleep and you have a bit of laziness to wake up. and you woke up, that's also considered a korban. Obviously, there is a huge difference in the first example and the second example. You know what the Gemara says? God doesn't get affected or bothered by the quantity. God wants the quality. Imagine yourself, you go to your wallet, you take $100 bill, and you give it to someone that is collecting tzedakah. Here, take it and leave me alone. Or you gave the guy $1 bill, heke, have a good holiday. God bless you. Which one is more important in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The second one. And you say, how come, Rabbi? It's 100 to 1. Yeah, but you gave it, yani, in a disrespectful, right, in a disrespectful way. Libo rahak mimeni, the pasuk says in the book of Tehillim. The heart is not there. They tell you in English and in many other languages, put your heart into it. What's the meaning of put your heart into it? Is today's Gemara the concept of kavanah. You know, someone asked me earlier today, what is the meaning of Hasid? So I explained that in our days, the word Hasid has different meanings. Even in the Hasidic world, there are many different groups and many different traditions and many different dress codes. But in reality, the word Hasid is not a copyright Ashkenazic concept. Hasid, every Jew can be a Hasid. Every Jew can be a Hasid. Because the Hasid that I'm referring to is not the Hasid based on the color socks or shtreimel or hat that the person wears, but is how is he a Hasid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What does it mean, the word Hasid? Or where does the word Hasid comes from? Short answer, Hesed. Hesed. But I'm going to throw in a bit of Hasidic concepts. In the real Hasidic world, kulot basically don't exist. Leniencies don't exist. What does it mean? They always do extra. Rabbeinu Tam, no early Shabbat, Masah Shemurah by hand all week long of Pesach, you know, certain ways of praying, no rush for the praying. Actually, praying could take, in Hasidic circles, may start at 7 in the morning, Rosh Hashanah, and finishes at 5 in the afternoon. I know in the Sephardic world it's almost unheard of, but in the Hasidic world, why? Because in their mindset, everything that a person does and connects the person to the Torah, to the Hachamim, and obviously to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is approved. Obviously, the Gemara mentions elsewhere that a person cannot say, I'm going to do all of the humbrot of the book. Humbrot means the extra mile. Or I'm going to do all the kulot of the book. I'm going to do all the more leniencies that are available. Both ways are wrong, according to the Talmud. So which way you need to fit? You need to find your way. Your way, not my way. Your way. And that's why we mentioned before that a person, when the Mishnah writes in Pirkei Avot, Aseh lecha Rav, make yourself a rabbi. The Mishnah didn't say, make yourself rabbis. The Mishnah said, make yourself one. Why one? Because you need to have a guide in your life. You need to have a GPS. Which way do we follow? And that's why the Gemara says, If you're going to follow the Humbrot of Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, you're wrong. If you follow the leniencies of Shammai and Hillel, you're also wrong. Why? Because you confuse yourself. Shammai for this, Hillel for that, Hillel for this, Shammai for that. So that's why the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, Aseh lecha Rav. Make yourself one leader. You have a question, sometimes people ask me questions, and some questions are a bit challenging, and the answer can vary in many aspects. And two questions I always ask. Who is your rabbi? And number two, once they tell me who the rabbi is, I know more or less, often, not all the time, but often, I know more or less which is the way of this person. And the second question is, did you ask him? No, I wanted to hear your opinion. I said, guess what? Go to your rabbi, ask your rabbi. I don't know you. And I may give you an answer that is not suitable for you. So do me a favor, ask your rabbi. If your rabbi asks me, and he says, please, I need help in this case, try to guide them, that's a different story. I learned this many years ago. In my early years of the rabbinate, going back, Ben Porat Yosef, a couple of years back, I answer questions, okay? But as I grew up and became more mature and more seasoned, I came to realize why the Mishnah says, Aseh lecha Rav. And for many years already, I utilize this concept. Who is your rabbi? And did you ask him? Even questions for mikveh that do come up, the first question I ask, who is your rabbi? Have your rabbi call me. My rabbi lets me. My rabbi lets you, it sounds a bit strange because the halacha is a bit different. You understand? People sometimes, in their innocence, they say things that they don't know how challenging could be that statement. Anyways, at the end of the day, the Gemara brings an interesting pasuk that says, Lirsonechem tizbahuhu. The Gemara writes, I'll say it in simpler English, 3 words. Rahamana liba ba'i. God wants your heart. Any sacrifice is fine. Even staying now. You want to leave. It's almost 10 o'clock. You want to leave. And you say, you know what? I'm going to stay a few more minutes until we say Kaddish. So I'm able to grab 5 more 6 amenim. Guess what? That sacrifice is considered a korban. You know what is the ultimate sacrifice? When you want to... Right? The quiet in the moment of argument. And that's the dividend is so great. What is the techar? What is the dividend? Argument or not answering back, being mevater. Somebody called me yesterday about a situation. $50,000. A lot of money. $100. There are people that perhaps this is the only yearly income. And there are people who, just in mortgages, they pay $50,000 a year. Or in tuition. That's only if you have a child and a half. If you have 2 kids, it's not enough. Right, it's not enough. Anyways, so he explained to me what happened. And after he told me what happened in a breach of the bedin, etc., the person finally, the victim, let's call him, felt that he was entitled to. He was mevater. He received something, but in his calculations, the fellow paid only a certain amount. The case went to a bedin, and the bedin invited the fellow to come. The fellow refused to come 3 times. So now the bedin is about to activate herem, siruv, and the bedin spoke to the fellow, and he says, you know what? I'm mevater on the $50,000. This was 2 days ago. Yesterday, he called me up. And he says, guess what's going to happen today? I have a $250,000 deal. Let it go. He says, I'm going to put this guy in harem. I see him in the synagogue, married with children. What's going to be? Because you don't talk to the person, you don't invite them to your house, you don't do business with them. That's the meaning in harem. He's an outcast. You make him feel what does it mean to disrespect the bedin, to disrespect the Torah, to disrespect the halakha, to disrespect Baruch Hu. You understand? That's the consequences. So he was mevater in 50. God says, Hazaku Baruch, I'm sending you $250,000 today. I'll let you know the outcome, because I like to know the happy ending. But I was thankful to him yesterday that he told me of the good news for today. No one loses by doing what's right. That's the Messiut. Remember yesterday, I shared a few words in memory of someone who was meticulous in Shabbat observance, and one day a fellow come to his home, somebody from the village, and it says, I'm here today, I came to pay the bill that I owe you from the textiles. And he says, I'm sorry, I don't talk business on Shabbat. Let me leave it here. No, but I don't deal with money on Shabbat. Okay, he refused to take them, but I'm not coming back in 3 months. I don't care. Shabbat, money and business, don't talk. And what was the story at the end? When he emigrated from Turkey to Panama, he became an ashir. Him, his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We take care of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he takes care of us. No one loses. Oh, that is not easy all the time? We agree. How many times we mentioned this? That when a person has challenges in certain area of spirituality, in a way, according to our Hachamim, this is a hint on what area in our spiritual life we need to improve. Like Shidduchim. Like Shidduchim. What happens with Shidduchim? Sometimes Shidduchim take a long time until they happen. Why? We don't have all the answers. But one thing is for sure, that the Shidduch, the aspect of a relationship between husband and wife, as we discussed in the earlier part of the week, is not only about the physical connection, but something more important, the spiritual connection between husband and wife. And sometimes there are shidduchim that the bride needs to have a suitable soulmate. And sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes you need to wait. Or sometimes you need to wait for her to be ready for her soulmate. At the end of the day, it takes two to tango. Maybe I shouldn't use this expression because tango is dancing. Whatever that means. I'm from Argentina, so I grew up listening to tango. That was the only kosher music that you hear everywhere. Today, I'm sure there's many more varieties. You understand? But her neshama needs to be ready for him, and his neshama needs to be ready for her. And this is why gradual growth spiritually, it's a requirement in the life of the person. But again, as I said before, you can do a mega mitzvah and it's considered okay, and you do a small mitzvah and becomes a mega mitzvah. Why? You put your goodwill. You did it with a smile. You know, the Gemara, the halacha is actually halacha, which comes from the Gemara discussing the mitzvah of kivud av va'em. And Shlomo HaMelech says, it is better to give your parents a slice of bread from yesterday with a smile, more valuable than a stuffed chicken with a long face. It's like you said to your mom, I went to Winn-Dixie, I got you the kosher section, obviously. Here, eat your stuffed chicken. That's not the way you talk to a parent. And Shlomo HaMelech says, you gave bread from yesterday with a smile. Much better. As I said before, it's not always about quantity, but it's also about quality of the person's actions and the person's intentions. Let's see, there is one more message of today. Actually, we didn't even touch on one of the highlight of the topics of this week's parasha, which is the topic of Sara'at. I'm going to devote a minute or two with your permission. And quickly, Sara'at, as we know, and the Rambam writes this, clear, that is a biblical wake-up call to the person. Is a godly wake-up call to the person. Sara'at, as we know, in English, leprosy, right? And it was a message to the person telling them that the way they are talking is forbidden. Lashon hara. That's why it's called mesorah. Mesorah means motzi ra. That's the meaning, motzi ra. Now, motzi ra is different than motzi shem ra. Motzi shem ra means when you accuse someone falsely. Motzi ra, everything you bring from your mouth is bad. Everything is negative, everything is dark, everything is evil. Lashon hara with a rampage, nibul peh, rechilut, gossip, slander, vulgarity, profanity, talking like a guy from the street. All this follows under the banner of motzi ra. And guess what? It's dangerous to the person, and it's dangerous for those that become close to this type of person, spiritually and physically. Why? Because that poison, that's what HaKadosh explains, that comes out from the mouth of the person, it affects the listening person. That's the Gemara writes. Three are affected by Lashon hara: the one that speaks, the one that listens, and the one that's spoken about. Now, Beli Neder tomorrow will try to dwell in this. But I tell you one thing. The great Hafetz Haim Alav Shalom brings an interesting question. Why many times a person prays, but the prayers don't seem to achieve much? You pray, and nothing changes. You know what he says? It says, check your mouth, if it's contaminated or not. What does that mean, contamination in the mouth? There are many ways. One is physical, how healthy your mouth is. But I don't need the Hafetz Haim to tell me that. Everybody knows that. But you know what the Hafetz Haim says? Not only worry about what goes into your mouth, let's say when it comes to kashrut, right? How many aspects of kashrut are there? Kasher, bishul, bishul Israel, bishul goy, pat Israel, pat akum, pat paltar, halav Israel, halav akum, halav Ishmael, kemach, kemach yashan, kemach hadash, basar, halak bet Yosef, glad, kosher. And this is only a handful. Okay? A handful. Obviously, the top ones is Bishul Israel, Bet Yosef, Yashan, Pat Israel, Halav Israel, etc. That means that there was a Yehudi involved. And sometimes people pay more attention to what goes in than what goes out. And that's what the Hafetz talk about, contamination of the mouth. How is your speech? Because at the end of the day, the Zohar HaKadosh says, the mouth is the source of our speech, of our prayers, of everything that we do in life. If you eat or if you speak. There was a pasuk that we quoted in last week's Torah portion that says, Kol amal ha'adam lefihu. All the toiling of the person is self-control of the mouth. Lefihu. Kosher food and kosher speech. The more kosher the speech is, the more our prayers become powerful, meaningful, and effective. I'm giving you a free tip. The Zohar goes to dwell more into this topic, but this is a thing, an area that a person always, there is room for improvement. And this is, by the way, I'll finish, the opening message of the Musar of today. Now that we understand how critical our speech is, we need to do teshuvah. We need to change. Change is part of serving Hashem. So it says the Musar of today, one line. Me'ikarei teshuvah azivat ahed. This is my statement. One line from Rabbeinu Yonah. Teshuvah means changing. Stop doing it. Abandon the sin, whatever it may be. Today we're talking about how we speak. The tongue could be our best friend, our best ally, or our worst enemy. It all depends how we deal with it. Shlomo HaMelech says, Mavet v'chaim v'yad ha'lashon. Your life in a good way, or Haz v'shalom, the opposite, can be determined on our speech. Why? Because the speech, as we heard the other night, every word is composed by letters. And every letter, you know, we say in the Selihot, Kilkalnu sinorot hashefa. We ruin the pipes of abundance. How many pipes of abundance are there in the world? Let me read you very quickly. Just 1 second. Right here. Birason milefanecha. I'm reading from the Ben Ish Hai prayer Friday night before Kiddush, after Eshet Hayil. He brings a L'Shem Yehud. And then listen what it says. May it be the will of the Almighty that at this moment should be Et Ratzon. Et Ratzon means a moment of goodwill, a moment that Hashem is in good spirit. Beimashech lanu, and bring upon us. I apologize. It was on the mic. Anyways, bring upon us, upon our souls, upon our wives, upon our daughters, upon our sons, to the entire Jewish people, an abundance, shefa, of blessing, of goodness, of mehila, of peace. Peace requirement number one. Goodness, blessing, life, charm, kindness, compassion, al yedei chavbet sinorot elyonim, through the 22 pipes which are open and are pouring an abundance of blessing upon us. And the next paragraph is to say the words when you put the water on the wine. How many pipes of abundance, how many distribution centers Shamayim has? 22, which refers to what? 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So what do you understand? That every letter is a different blessing. It's like you go to an ice cream store. You go to an ice cream store, and especially in Brooklyn, they have fantastic ice cream stores. I used to eat there in the past. I haven't been there in a while. But you go and you get dizzy just choosing which flavor. And then you have toppings. Every imaginable, this for the grandkids obviously, right? I take a free sample to make sure that it's delicious and fresh. But they say, and they drive crazy, the guy behind the counter. Color, granola, chocolate sprinkles, multicolored sprinkles, shredded coconut sprinkles. Imagine they have 50, 60 ice cream flavors. True. All super kasher. And how many different types of toppings they have. So Shamayim has 22 pipes of blessings. How do we open the pipes? By the words. Every letter opens up a different pipe. For example, I say the word Shalom Aleichem. Nice word. Peace upon you. Which door open? Shalom. Shin Lamed Vav Mem. Aleichem Ayin Lamed Yod Chav Mem. I open 9 pipes. It's all Kabbalistic what I'm saying. But guess what? If every letter is a pipe, what is a word? A word is a combination of letters. So if the word it opens up the right pipes. But if Haz v'Shalom what comes out is not good, what does it do? Close it down. And that's why we say in the Selihot, Kilkalnu sinorot hashefa. We ruin the pipes of abundance. How do you ruin the pipe of abundance? By not talking in a kosher way. How do you fix that? He said the answer, Aziba, take upon yourself to be more careful from now on. There is no guaranteed success overnight. Start slowly. Half an hour, 2 hours. Control yourself. That's what it's all about. That is what Teshuvah is all about. But in this particular department, which is what we are talking about, this is the way. Is it easy? Nobody said it's easy. But it's not impossible neither. En davar ha'omed bifnei harason. Let's say that you need to take a flight to Israel at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're going to be at the airport at 2 o'clock. Why? Because you know that if you don't get up early enough to be at the airport on time, you're going to lose the ticket. And so why you wake up and you get there on time? Because this is something that you have rason. If the heart is and the brain are on the same page and they are willing to reconnect with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's beautiful. The problem is, and with this I'll finish. I said this 15 minutes ago. I apologize. Mehila. The problem with this is if the person is an akshan, Haz v'shalom. If a person is stubborn, so then teshuvah becomes challenging. Why? Because what teshuvah is all about? Recognizing and changing. What is an action? Someone that is not willing to change. My way or the highway. You don't like it, leave.
Stubborn.
Stubborn, that's the meaning of action. And that's why Rabbeinu Yonah writes, akshan teshubato kasha. Because what is teshubah? Recognizing I need to change. What is a stubborn person? I don't need to change. So teshubah and akshanut don't see eye to eye. And that's why this is the opening statement of today's message. And I think that with this, we'll finish the class, I believe. Let me see quickly. I can add, no. Self-control. We're not going to add anything. I said I'm finishing. Baruch Omer Be'oseh. Tomorrow, to be continued. Be'ezat Hashem. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.